When you scroll through your social media feed, you're really looking at two completely different worlds, right? There's the world of people who share every little thing, and then there's the silent majority who just seem to watch.
I mean, you've probably wondered about this. You see them on your friends list, they're watching your stories, maybe they'll even like a post here and there, but you go to their own profile, it's like a ghost town. So what is actually going on there? Let's dive in.
I think the best way to really get this is to picture social media as this giant digital stage. And on that stage, pretty much all of us fall into one of two main roles.
Okay, so on one side of the stage, you've got the performer. These are the folks broadcasting their lives, sharing their thoughts, and they really thrive on that engagement. The likes, the comments, the shares. But then, on the other side, you have the observer. They're the ones soaking it all in, maybe even creating stuff on their own time, but they almost never step into that public spotlight.
Now, it's really tempting to look at these observers and think, oh, they're just shy, right? Or maybe that their lives just aren't as exciting. But the psychology here tells a totally different story. It's usually not about a lack of confidence. It's about a really powerful kind of self-knowledge.
It all boils down to this key psychological idea, self-concept clarity. And what does that even mean? Well, it's basically having such a strong, stable understanding of your own identity and your own values that you just don't need a crowd of people online to tell you who you are.
This right here, this really gets to the heart of it. An observer's sense of self isn't built on the shifting sands of what people think online or how many likes a photo gets. Nope, it's built on a solid internal foundation.
And what this really means is they've kind of outgrown the need for that little dopamine rush you get from notifications. That whole external reward system of social media, it's just not what drives them. So if it's not that, then what is? Well, the answer is intrinsic motivation. See, because that self-concept clarity is already rock solid, the validation has to come from somewhere else. And for the observer, it comes from within. They do things, they learn things, they experience the world because it's personally satisfying, not for the applause they might get online.
So this internal focus, it naturally leads to a completely different set of values. And for the observer, one of the biggest values that takes center stage is privacy. For the silent observer, valuing privacy isn't some accident. It's a conscious choice. They've actually decided that keeping their personal experiences for themselves is more meaningful than packaging them up for everyone else to see.
This slide just lays it out so clearly. The core difference is all about focus. Is your goal to curate an experience for an audience, like the performer? Or is it to simply live the experience for yourself, like the observer? The observer, time and again, chooses to just live it.
And this leads us to a really fascinating idea. What if observing isn't a passive thing at all? What if, in this world where everyone's trying to perform, just watching is actually a kind of superpower? This superpower has a name: observational intelligence. It's the skill of absorbing, processing, and understanding the world with incredible depth, all from a quiet viewpoint. It's about spotting the patterns that everyone else misses because they're too busy performing for the crowd. And this isn't just about social media, by the way. This is a crucial skill in leadership, in strategy, in any field that requires you to really understand what's going on.
And don't get it twisted, this is a very active process. It's not just mindless scrolling. As you can see here, observers are constantly consuming information, then they're analyzing it for patterns, synthesizing it into a bigger picture, and ultimately they're learning from it. It's this powerful mental loop that happens completely behind the scenes.
Okay, so with all of that in mind, let's bring it back to you. How do these two roles really stack up against each other, and which one starts to sound a little more familiar?
This table just sums it all up perfectly. On one side, you have the performer, motivated by that external validation and really focused on public display. Then, on the other side, you've got the observer, driven by their own internal rewards and values, like privacy. And that, in turn, fuels their high self-concept clarity and sharpens that powerful observational intelligence we were just talking about.
But here's the most important thing to remember. There is no judgment here. One isn't better than the other. In fact, a really healthy digital life probably has a little bit of both. The constant pressure to perform can lead to burnout, for sure, but a pure observer might miss out on some really valuable connections. They're just two fundamentally different and equally valuable ways to engage with the world online.
Which leaves us with one final question for you to think about. As you navigate your own digital life, which role do you find yourself playing more often? The broadcaster, up on stage or the silent and pretty powerful observer in the audience?